And it seems like we are live. Hello and welcome everybody to yet another really exciting episode of the Unlocked Jamroom. Today, my guest, oops, sorry, an amazing electronic artist, DJ, music producer, visual artist, and a dentist. The amazing ANAKHEMIA is with us today for the Unlock Jam Room episode, and I'm really excited to speak to her. We've been trying to collaborate for a while, and hoping that all of you are well and staying safe. I'm going to invite her into the video, and we will start jamming. I'm waiting for ANAKHEMIA to join our feed.
Hi,
Hello! How are you? Welcome, welcome.
I'm good. How are you?
Well, hanging in there just like the rest of us.
Yeah, yeah.
Am I
Well, we have to
audible
do
to
our
you?
bit.
Can you hear me very well? Because
Yes.
okay, that's what
Great.
do I call you? Do I call you Anakimia or do I call you Afra?
Well, Anakhemia is my artist alias,
Right.
and Afra is my given name.
Her given name is Afra Khan, both of which
Yeah.
are so beautiful.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so the first it's not really an interview question, but just more of a personal question because again,
Okay.
this is the first time I'm having an opportunity to actually chat with you,
Yeah.
um, which is great, which is something I've been wanting to do for a long time.
Yeah.
Um, how have you been? How has this whole COVID-19 and lockdown and quarantine and all of that stuff?
For
But
you.
hmm,
This realization that all this while we've been living either for ourselves as individuals or for the immediate community around us, your
right,
family, your friends, the district where you live, maybe your state, maybe even your country. But now it's like, listen, you're well only if everyone around in the world is well, because look,
absolutely,
we're
very
we're in
well
the
said.
village. We're
Yeah,
traveling more than ever. We're interacting with people from the east is brought to the west and the west is brought to the east. That's the century we're living in, and
absolutely.
literally we cannot ignore the well-being of someone who's on the other side of the world, because you know what, if they're affected, so are you.
Oh, absolutely,
And this is
absolutely.
like the biggest takeaway from this, like the biggest takeaway.
Yeah, I mean, if there is actually, I mean, the term world war, I think only applies to COVID-19 because
Yeah,
before this, I don't think the entire world was ever involved in a war against one unified thing.
absolutely,
So
absolutely.
I wanted to start this conversation by asking about how it all began for you. So you spent most of your childhood in Saudi Arabia.
That's correct.
Um, you come from a background of you come from Indian Muslim parents, right?
Yeah.
So how how did EDM come into your world? It's like you can imagine why that would be a question to begin this with.
Well, I don't know. So I don't even identify myself firstly with any country. I
Hmm,
don't identify myself with even a religion. I
hmm,
think these days religion is more often a question of just like heritage or lineage, if I
hmm,
may.
hmm,
Practice is a completely different thing. For
right.
me, I'm a total TCK individual. Like, I'm a proper third culture kid. So for me, I grew up with this like mangled up identity. Do you know what I
Sure,
mean?
absolutely.
So I can't even put myself in a box
Hmm,
anyway. You know, just by matter of birth and the
right, right.
heritage of my parents and where I grew up eventually. So yeah, the box is totally out,
Right,
since day zero, really.
right.
Um, when To be more specific in answering your question, which is how did you happen to fall into EDM? Well, um, there's a long and a short answer to that.
Yeah.
Firstly,
Give
music
me a
was
medium version, like the
okay.
average of both of them.
Yeah, well, it was okay. So I'll just narrate a story that I narrate to
Please.
everybody. So I was at this proper, like, proper psychedelic rave. I don't know what rave means to kids these days, but like a proper, you know
I
what I
know what
mean
you mean
by
by
a.
rave. Yeah, I know exactly
So
what you mean.
so I was at one of those, and I was there literally babysitting my friends,
And where was this?
and this was actually in India.
Ah,
Uh,
okay.
yeah, and so I was there just babysitting my friends, and just to see if everyone would be okay, like just taking care of them and all of that. And
Hmm.
there was this DJ. I think he had traveled from Jordan, so he was a psychedelic trance DJ, and it was like this crazy, crazy thing. It wasn't even an event. It was this like thing with, you know how those raves,
Yeah,
how raves usually are.
yep.
And this particular DJ was like playing 8 hours straight, 8 hours,
Like nonstop.
non-stop, non-stop.
Wow.
The rave was like 24-hour thing, and this guy
Mm.
played like 8 hours straight. And I was just like, without stimulants, there's only so much. Like, I can do like 8 hours straight dancing without being stimulated anyway. But that was like my
Wow.
first
Like,
initiation. That was like my first initiation. So after 2 hours, I was just like tired, and I'm like looking at everyone, and this guy's like going nonstop, and he literally had the pulse of like the place in his hands.
mm.
He was controlling like the emotions of all of the people there for 8 hours straight. And I was like, this guy is no less than a magician.
Oh,
If you
absolutely.
could be able to do that and like literally control like how everyone is feeling there, like that's magic, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And
He owns the room.
I just fell in love with
What
the
was his
art
name?
of DJing. I don't remember. He wasn't like a very famous DJ or
Okay.
anything. He was
Mm.
just doing this part time, but he was so amazing. He was just so amazing.
Mm.
So thanks to him, I really got interested in the art of DJing.
And
And
how old were you
EDM,
when this happened?
well, I would have been about 16.
Okay, that
I
makes
was
sense.
fairly
It's
young,
the right
yeah.
age. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, if you'd asked me now, I think that was fairly too young to be at a rave of that
Yeah,
level
it
or
was
that
probably
nature,
illegal for you to be there anyway, right?
I know.
No, okay.
Well, EDM really was just like it was just like a side effect of me just hanging around my friends, really. But
Right.
to be quite honest, I was already involved in music, not in EDM
Hmm.
per se. So my music journey started as a drummer.
Oh.
So I started playing drums when I was about 15,
Hmm.
and I was playing in like alternative rock bands, like college bands and things like that. And I
Hmm.
did that throughout my dental career, like during my dental university days,
Hmm.
rather.
Right.
And then soon after I wrapped up my studies, I went back to Saudi Arabia,
Hmm.
and things there were like happening at a very underground level. Like there wasn't too much going on in the music scene.
I was
And
going to
by
ask you,
then,
like, what was the culture of EDM generally in the Middle East at that time, and like,
well,
how must have been very
this
different
is,
from what I've seen in America, and like,
yeah, well, I'm talking about like 9 8 9 years back,
okay.
when I went
Hmm.
back to Saudi. And at least at that point, like the EDM scene was nil, absolutely nil. There were definitely like rock
Hmm.
bands playing, and like fairly good rock bands that were playing, of course, in the underground scene, because public scene was
Sure.
absolutely like not non-existent, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
But when it came to the EDM scene, there wasn't really much going on, and of course, even now it's quite at a very nascent level. But back then, there wasn't anything happening. So what
Hmm.
happened was I had this love of music. I was playing in bands here in India, and I had fallen in love with electronic music. And I went back, and there wasn't anything happening. So I
Hmm.
was like, I've got to do something. I need a creative outlet.
Hmm.
You know how it is when you're creative. You
Of
need
course.
to express yourself. So
Absolutely.
I was I was working at a hospital during the day, and in the night I got the opportunity to gig as a features writer for art, music, and
Hmm.
culture, and like the biggest newspaper in Saudi. It was called Arab News.
Right. Arab news.
And
Yes.
yeah, and then I thought this was such a great opportunity for me to like still be in touch with the music industry. So I started
Yeah.
talking to like international DJs and producers,
Yeah, I
and
have a separate question for that completely. So before I get into that, let me ask you something about the initiation of this. Like, you've played drums and you grew up loving music or being around music in whatever way. How, as an EDM producer, as a DJ, from that perspective, from that point of view, how important do you think it is for one to have a real musical background? When I say real, I don't mean that EDM is not real. I mean, there's real music and then there's software music or virtual music. So, like, how
right.
important is it for you to like either train as an instrument player or a vocalist, or something that is acoustic and gives you the basic grammar of music itself?
Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
Well, yeah, well, in my case, it helped,
Hmm,
because I was a drummer for a bit.
hmm,
It really helped me understand the sense of rhythm, which is
hmm.
extremely important in DJing. And of course, that helped when it came to electronic music production. I think I started
Sure.
producing like much more before I started DJing. Like it was almost the same year, but I'd actually purchased like the production software much before I started DJing publicly. Even I was a producer first and
Sure.
then turned to a DJ. So for me, the
Right.
transition was so smooth. Like my learning curve was like not like it was just like exponential. It was like I didn't
Hmm, hmm.
really have a very hard time because I already understood music theory. I had taken some guitar lessons just to understand music theory much,
Okay.
much before when I was younger. So all of that
Hmm,
really helped for me to make that
hmm.
transition.
Sure.
So to answer your question, I think it helps a lot to have like a traditional musical background.
Hmm,
It just informs you in a very different way, I think. You
hmm,
because the reason I this comparison is because I also do workshops
hmm.
to teach people how to DJ, and also music production. So I see the struggle of people who don't come from a traditional musical background.
Sure.
There's a learning curve there,
Yeah,
and
and
it's
just in there's a the cardinal sin, like Dead Mouse said, the cardinal sin of EDM is that the whole production is like, you'll take like a chord and slap a kick drum on it and say, "Here's my tune," but that's not what that music
yeah.
is. I
Well,
mean,
I would disagree with that in that there's a real discipline that's required even in the whole production process
that's
of
exactly what I'm
in
saying. That
EDM.
is the whole
You
point.
know.
I'm saying there are so many people who just believe that if you have a steady kick drum and then
Oh,
whatever the hell going on,
absolutely.
that's EDM.
Yeah,
No, I mean,
absolutely not.
yeah,
Absolutely not. And you can hear that, Mayookh, in
sure.
like the amount of work that's out there. It's just like,
Mm,
yeah, you're right. Just like slapping a bass line on top of like a snare and a kick and the whole lot of it doesn't
yeah.
actually produce a song. Like you're just create like now we're gonna like venture into the whole realm of what really makes a great song, right?
Not
But
only that, I'm just saying from the point of view is like, like I'm a classical, like absolutely orthodox, classically trained tabla player,
sure,
and I've done that
sure,
for the the hugest part of my life. And I used to
right.
think that is the hardest thing to do, but then I got into electronic music, and I struggled and I struggled and I struggled and it just couldn't get. You're a producer, and I'm going to get into the details of that, but I just couldn't get the kick drum to pop, or my bass is getting in the way. Like, I mean, there is so much to learn. There is so much to figure out. That I will vouch for the fact that there is no difference between the discipline necessary to make EDM music, good electronic music, and good any other music. Did I just lose you? Sorry, folks, we were having this incredible conversation with this incredible artist, ANAKHEMIA. If you haven't, welcome back, ANAKHEMIA. Do you have a network issue where you are? Do you? Oh, there's no audio. There's no audio. Okay. If you haven't followed her yet,
Right.
welcome back. There we go. There we
I
go.
actually got a
And she's
call.
back.
yeah, I got a call and the whole thing messed up. The person who called me is gonna get like a good hearing from me in a
Well,
bit.
well, it's not their fault. You haven't told them, and what we do in that case for your next live session is that we put the phone on airplane mode and then we go on
I've done
Wi-Fi.
that. Yeah, I did that. I don't know what happened. I think it was a messenger call or something.
Oh, messenger
Never
call. Okay.
mind. Never mind.
I hate messenger. Yeah. So, coming back to this is incredible stuff that you're saying, and I've heard your productions. I mean, your productions are so amazing. There's so much of intricacy. There's so much of stuff that you do with the textures of the just the textural space that you use. You're amazing at that. Also, the
Thank you.
balance of the frequencies in the spectrum that you use, the way you use it. What is your production process? How do you, first of all, what DAW do you use? What's your DAW, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, is DAW, which is a digital audio workstation, the programs of softwares that we use to produce music. So what is your platform?
Logic Pro X.
Of course, of course.
I'm a Mac W beep 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 E to the core. So their native program is Logic, and I said, well, there's nothing better than I can go with. So
Right.
Logic it is. I like the
That's the way to
interface.
go.
The interface, yeah, the interface is really, really cool, I think. It's like the coolest interface ever. I don't know, I think it's less about the DAW than what you're doing in the
The
DAW,
live.
you know.
Yeah. I mean, look, a lot of people say, you need this to do that, or you need this software. I, you know, I very strongly believe that music comes from people, and I would never say that you have to have this in order to
Right.
do that, and this. That's all.
Absolutely.
I mean, I have the
Absolutely.
weirdest combination of softwares. I work on Reason from
Okay.
Propellerhead and Pro Tools. And
Right.
the reason I do that is because, first of all, Reason is an independent music production DAW. And then I do a lot of film work. So Pro Tools is a really good engineering software
Right.
in terms of like very
Right.
fine editing and stuff like that. So what is your
Right.
process? How do you usually start a song? And tell me about that. I want to get your secrets in.
There is no secret, Mayookh, except that I'm actually a
That's what they all
very
say. That's what they all say.
no, no, trust me. So I'll tell you one thing though. Um, I don't know if many producers are like this, but for me, look, I fell in love with music videos before I fell in love with music, or I fell in love with
Oh,
music because of music videos. Do you know what I
got you.
mean?
Oh yeah,
So
yeah, absolutely.
so it was like the whole visual narrative that
Right, right.
sucked me into music. I don't know if people are like kids are like that these days. I really don't know. Today it's all about the lyric video. Do you know what I mean? I don't know. It really, can you hear me?
I can. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So for me, it really starts with the visual narrative because I grew up like loving music videos so much. So for me, even
Hmm.
before I start like laying down the audio foundation, for me, I start with the story in my head. And
Sure.
that's why like all of the stuff that you see, whether it's on Instagram or YouTube, like every audio piece
Hmm.
has like a visual story going on. Like there's some video for everything,
Yeah,
that
and
I
it's
do.
very integrated. I've been seeing your work, and it's so integrated in the sense that it doesn't seem like somebody made a song and they were like, "All right, we have to put this out, so we need a video. So let's make a video." It it seems like you make the entire thing together as one thing. Like, and
Well, I'm happy
that.
to hear that because that's
Yeah.
what an artist wants to do. At the end of the day, you
Hmm.
want to have an identity, some kind of like
Hmm.
whether it's an audio identity or a visual identity. For me,
Hmm.
what's really important, what ties all of my work together is it really has to like tap into the psyche of an individual when they
Hmm.
consume my work. Like, I don't want
Hmm.
to create art for the sake of creating art, That's not
Hmm.
my
Hmm.
mission.
Hmm. Hmm.
When I work out
What is
there,
your
for
mission?
me, yeah, well, it would be this, For me, it is about maybe being like more vocal about the world that we live in, and it doesn't have to
Hmm.
be just political. you
Hmm.
know.
Hmm.
For me, what's really important is that I'm like part of the narrative of like the reality that we live in. And
Hmm.
if I can just like help someone maybe think in a way that will uplift not just themselves but everyone else around them, just by like sparking some kind of idea, like that's enough for me. You know, it takes a whole
Right.
life, Mayukh, you know that
Absolutely.
as an
Absolutely.
artist, to figure out what your mission is. But you know, you start with an idea that this is what I want to do for people, or this
Hmm.
is what I want to do for myself. You know, for some it is like I want to be like DJ on like DJ Mag or something. For someone,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
for someone it's like winning a Grammy or something like that. Yeah, there's
Hmm.
others who just want the sake of creating, and then there are others who want to use
Hmm.
art to say something about their life or
Sure.
about who they are as individuals. I'm figuring that out. I'm like, I feel like I'm
Hmm.
at the start of that, you know, but what I want to
Hmm.
stay constant with whatever I do is that it's gotta mean something. Like I don't know if I mean I could do like cheesy top 20, you know. I have like 200 you know songs worth of like cheesy top 20 stuff like just laying
Sure.
dormant on my hard drive.
I'm sure.
I don't know if that's my journey though, you know.
Right. I
I
mean,
don't
but
know.
you know, when you're making music, I feel like you said, people want to express themselves or talk about their lives. I think that is a default. I mean, as an artist, if you make music, your expression is going to talk about your life. That is inevitable
Sure.
because it's self-expression. But like for example, for me, the whole idea of music is to spark ideas in other people and just to bring a smile on people's faces because like every day we walk out we're struggling with something, we're fighting with something, we are negotiating, you know, we are in some kind of a battle, you know, however small or big that may be, depending on time. If I can do something to make you go on your phone or your laptop or your CD player and switch on a track, and that brings a little bit of happiness to you, my job is done. You know, like
Yeah.
I don't
And
really
that's
care
also a
what
great
I mean.
mission.
I don't know what is going on. Instagram, please don't do this to us. Okay. Um, yeah, I'm sorry. You were saying something and you got cut off.
And that's a great mission also, just to have like
Hmm.
the ability to like really make people happy and joyful is like such a great thing you could do as a human being, not just like as an artist or a musician. And musicians and
Yeah.
artists really have the ability to do that by default, you know. And if you could just
Yeah.
fulfill that mission, that's the greatest life you could live, you know.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm really glad that a lot of wonderful musicians have actually joined the session. Anubrata Chatterjee and Rohin Bose, who are like incredible young tabla players and my contemporaries and colleagues, they're here listening to our conversation. Thank you guys for joining in
Hi
so much.
everyone.
And and everybody who's joining in right now, this is ANAKHEMIA. Please go and follow her immediately. She's doing incredible stuff, and your mind will be blown. Um, can I ask you a couple of small technical questions?
Yes.
So, you play a lot of four on the floor kind of, techno or trance driven ideas in your music. How do you figure the balance between, let's say, your kick drum and your bass? What is what is the process you go through when you're doing that?
Yeah. You know, when I from the get-go, from the time I started really Mayukh, for me, I
Mm,
decided one thing. I said either I take one of two approaches, but all
mm,
just to be but at the end of the day, you have to be balanced in those two approaches. One is you get too technical about like the whole discipline of the production, or two, you just go by how it sounds to you, you know.
sure, sure.
So for me, I like my stuff to be very bass heavy. I like it, you know. I like
Yeah,
the
I love your stuff for that reason. I'm a bass addict, so like,
feel of the bass to like make your heart thump, right?
hmm, hmm. It keeps going this way. Yeah.
Looks like like we had a little bit of trouble there.
You were saying yes. Just your music is very bass heavy, and I was saying that I love it for that reason. I mean, I'm addicted to bass, and the lower spectrum is what does it for me. You know, like so.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah. So tell me about how do you know go about.
Yeah, so for me, it's really driven, like I said, first by the visual narrative and what I want the
Right.
visual narrative to say, really, and then the vision dictates the audio after, you know.
Hmm.
And for
That's
me,
very interesting. Very very interesting.
yeah. So for
Yeah.
me, it's not very important. Like you have to be technical to a point, but if you're too technical, then it
Hmm.
becomes sterile almost, you
Hmm.
know.
Hmm.
And for me, I like what I'm seeing in my head to dictate how each spectral frequency plays out in the song.
Hmm.
Sometimes, even though they say you've got to have your bass to a minimum at this point, I'm like, you know what? How about if you increase it a little bit? Then how would that play out in the track? So sometimes there are
Hmm.
no rules, you know. I would
Yeah.
say like just go by how the track sounds
Right.
and what you want the track to feel like. And of course, every
Sure.
genre has its own set of dictates and rules and things like that. So
Yeah.
I can't really give a generality about, whether the kick drum should be stronger like than bass, but I would just
You know,
say
I say
like see
sidechain,
how the
man.
track
Just sidechain it. I mean, that's my go-to solution for any kick and bass problem is just sidechain.
yeah,
Just put a compressor on it and duck
yeah.
it. I have a question about the song Prophecy. I heard this track, incredible project, incredible visual, all of that stuff. Very, very thought-provoking. But you know, there's a mid-range synth bass that is going with the drums, and that reminds me of Thriller somehow. Do you know what I'm saying?
Thriller,
Yeah,
thriller.
Michael Jackson's Thriller.
Oh my God. Are you talking about the prophecy? Because I didn't hear you there.
Yeah, I'm talking about the Prophecy.
Oh my God. I'll tell you what. It's so amazing you're saying that because I've never heard anyone say that.
Hmm.
Wow. I'm baffled. You know why? Because
Why?
that was my debut track, right? And
Yeah.
the biggest inspiration during that time for me
Hmm.
was I don't know why I kept listening to Michael Jackson's History. If you're familiar
Hmm.
with that track, not many people are.
Oh, of course, of
Um,
course. I'm a
right? Even
PhD
on
on Michael
YouTube, it's
Jackson. Don't
like,
worry.
oh, okay, great. No, because when you go on YouTube, that song is like it's not like very prominent
It's
on
not
pages. You
available.
really have
Yeah,
to go through it.
it's
It's
not
not,
available.
yeah.
Yeah, you have to go and
So that
search.
was
You have to
like
go way down.
right. So that track for me was like it's like the epitome of dance music. Do you know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like from the visual
Absolutely,
narrative of the track, or and even just
absolutely.
like the genre and the feel of the track is like epitomizes dance music, right? I
Yep,
don't
yep.
know why. Like during that whole production process, I was
Hmm.
um, I was I was listening to History by Michael Jackson.
Right, right. It's one of
So
my favorite albums, man. Like, I mean, it's so epic.
yeah.
It's so huge. I mean, oh, here we go again. You're back.
He was the first artist, like I remember. If you tell me who was
Hmm.
the first artist that you remember, like it's Michael Jackson, because my mom would listen to
Sure.
Michael Jackson, so that was like my. So for you to say that you found
Right.
something
So,
of
I mean,
resonance with
Prophecy.
Michael
You have
Jackson,
that synth bass line popping out. The rest of it, you have you've got that whole Thriller groove going. You know, like with the
wow,
uh,
unbelievable, unbelievable. You say that. Well, someone has a
it's
question
great.
here. Yeah, someone has
Yeah,
a question here
Ryan's
saying,
feed is asking you, ANAKHEMIA, who edits your videos?
yeah. Well, that's myself actually.
She edits her videos. I mean, she's a visual artist as well, and which is incredible. I mean, I couldn't do it in a million years. I've tried. I mean, tried and failed miserably. Yeah, I
Oh,
mean, you have to really see her work to believe how integrated a video and the music could be. It's
oh,
incredible.
you're so you're amazing as a
Yeah,
tabla player. You don't need.
I'm sorry, you got cut off again.
I
Technology is
said
not
you're
on our
such an
side today.
amazing
That I can say.
you're such an amazing tabla player. You don't need other like skills, like, you know, fill your resume really.
No, no, it's not my resume. It's just I wish I didn't have to keep hiring an editor every time I needed a video. You know, like
Oh
that's
yeah, well,
that's you know, it comes with its own set of problems. Tell me about your textures and your sound design, which is also another incredible part of the way you use noise. The way you use weird like radio frequencies and white and static noise and interference and things like that to build your tracks. Tell me how that whole cinematic scope comes into your music building and how much of that is also again visually and narratively inspired.
yeah. You know what, Mayookh? I could watch films all day, like all day. You
Yeah,
know,
me too. Me too. Absolutely, absolutely.
sometimes I wonder if I'm really like a music artist or like I'm trying to be a director or something, you know.
Well, you're both. You're doing both of them.
So for me, how much of noise? Well, I'm really interested by ambiguous sounds. I'm
Hmm.
really interested in sounds that have like whose source is ambiguous. You know, for me, I've always like I have like sharp ears, thank God. I don't know
Yeah,
if it's a gift or what it is, but for me,
it could be
I'm
both,
extremely
a gift and a
sensitive.
curse. It depends on where you're
It could be
living. If you're
both.
living in Mumbai, it could be a curse.
Absolutely.
Like,
Absolutely. So for me, I have like very sensitive ears, and sometimes you know, you're able to tune to like these tones that whose source could actually be coming out of like outside your house, maybe drilling machines and things like that. I always was like
sure.
fascinated by these kind of sounds, and
Hmm. Frozen again. Yeah, here we go. You're back.
right, right. So 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 which is why maybe the element, you know, these weird radio frequencies and noise and like
Hmm.
make an appearance in my in my production. For me, I'm
That's
as much
incredible. That's incredible.
intrigued by unmelodic stuff than I am with
Hmm.
melodic stuff.
Hmm.
Maybe
Hmm.
it's about I'm trying to understand, like I'm trying to understand the duality of both, you know, things that are in
Right.
sync and things that are out of sync. And of course,
Absolutely
I love
incredible.
films. I love films, and sound design is something that I've always been
Hmm.
intrigued by. So maybe that's why the cinematic, you know,
Right. We're going to
just
get
like the
into that. We have another
influences.
question from Ryan's feed, which says, to both, in your opinion, what is the future of EDM? Where is it heading? You want to take that?
Well, um, it's hard to answer that question, you know, but I would say that I hope that it evolves into something that's much more interesting than what we have right now. You know,
Hmm.
obviously, you know, we have amazing artists producing like amazing music, goes without saying, but I think there's like an oversaturation at some level of like the same sounding stuff, you know, a
Yeah,
whole crop
generic.
of musicians just like trying to sound like one another, which helps, you know, it helps DJs a lot actually in like programming like a DJ set, of course, when you
Right.
have like similar sounding tracks and things like that to
Hmm.
you know seamlessly create a journey. But I just hope that it evolves into something like really cool now that we're like living so much more into the future.
Mm.
Everything's looking so futuristic. I'm like I'm quite curious as to where the you know like what the future of sound will be like.
Hmm.
I have a feeling though that people are to be very much drawn to the sound of nature.
Mm.
and somehow infusing that with like cyberpunk electronic sounds, because we're living like
Mm.
that. We're almost like half cyborgs now. I mean, we're literally living a
Absolutely.
virtual life, you know, and I
Yeah.
think that's somehow going to play into this whole aspect of like the future of music as well.
Yeah, I mean, EDM is a really young form of music, and it's developing in many ways. And you know, the artists, even the good artists, are getting younger and younger. One problem I see with that, I mean, it's an advantage and a disadvantage at the same time, is that if you have a laptop, you can make this music. There is no actual physical discipline involved in practicing for years and years. If you have a kick drum sample, I have that kick drum sample, everybody has that sample, and you can just slap it on the track and it starts playing. So I'm saying the initial action of it is easy, but it gets really difficult to make something that stands out. You have to have, I mean, it comes back to the
Right.
exact same thing of composing music.
Absolutely.
It's like
Absolutely.
saying, people have said that, you know, this is a technology that is taking over the music, but not really, because like, you know, if you press a key on a piano and I press a key on a piano, it sounds exactly the same, because it's not like a tabla or a hand drum where it depends on my skin hitting the exact drum. If you hit a key on the piano, the same hammer will hit the same string as if I hit that same key on the piano. But then there's a pianist, and then there's me, who sounds like dogs barking. I can make a piano sound like dogs are barking. Okay. Um,
That's a
so
skill.
it must be. No, I'm just, you
Yeah.
know, giving you a metaphor. But I'm just, what I'm
Yeah.
trying to say is that EDM music, there is this novelty factor of, oh God, this is EDM, and you're supposed to dance to this, and there's supposed to be aggression in this. Once this thing settles down, and this madness of, you know, just ridiculous people trying to get louder and louder with everything, you know, just take a limiter, slap it on the track, pull the threshold all the way down, and it just ruins everything. It ruins the dynamics, and I think that's a really idiotic way to make music. And loudness is not what defines
No.
uh, the virtue of musicality. So I think EDM is headed
No.
in a very good direction, as soon as the people who are making EDM stop restricting themselves to that term EDM and just look at it as music, and you know, electronics being one platform of raising it. And there are incredible people doing work in that respect. I mean, uh, you know, just simple beat makers, like, you know, that, I mean, even from the years before, the Apex Twins, Amon Tobin. I mean, these people are incredible visionaries and sound designers and all of that. So I'm very hopeful. I'm very hopeful because, you know, I'm trying to get Indian classical music mixed up with EDM in a way that it becomes one genre. And I hope to God that that happens in a successful way. But more people have to keep doing it and have to keep going in
Yeah.
that direction. In that, it can't be just me, you know, like so that the next thing I have to ask you about is your inspiration from quantum metaphysics. How does that inspire, and how does that whole realm play into your?
I'm kind of on the journey of experimenting what certain sound frequencies, like what how certain sound frequencies can evoke certain, like, let me put it this way simply, let me simplify myself. um, what are the emotions or what are the changes that a particular frequency can evoke in a human body? Like, that is
Hmm,
something of like great interest to me,
hmm,
and that's how, and that's where I think metaphysics and quantum physics, like um, the conceptual foundation of that somehow
hmm,
plays into this idea that I start with when I start creating music. So I'm at this journey now where I'm actually experimenting with different frequencies. Like, I
hmm.
recently did this experimental set for Eclectic Art Lab in London, and
Hmm.
the video is actually on my YouTube. You can find a snippet of it, I think, on my
What's it
Instagram. I
called?
don't remember. It's for Eclectic Art Lab.
Hmm.
Um, so what I did was I basically played like your human hearing frequency, which is between 20 hertz to 20
To 20K.
kilohertz. Yeah.
Well,
So I
More
basically
for women than
ran,
men.
yeah, more for women than men. So, so I basically ran that whole audio frequency tuning in the set,
Hmm.
and it was really, really interesting. Some people came
Wait,
back to
what does
me and
that mean
said,
exactly? You ran the whole audit. What is? Can you explain
so
that?
I ran the whole frequency spectrum, the sound
Hmm.
frequency spectrum during
From
that
20
set,
to 20K.
starting from 20 to 20 kilohertz. That's right.
Wow.
So that was very interesting. Some
Hmm.
people were
Hmm.
like, yeah, we could feel like at 20 we could feel it. We couldn't hear it, we could feel it, but not many people did. Maybe like two people
Oh,
out
you
of 10
can't
came back to
hear
me and
below
said,
32. Come
of
on.
course you can't.
It's like,
You have to be a dog or a whale for that. And I'm
yeah.
hoping,
I mean, you could be affected
I'm
by
hoping,
brown noise, but you can't hear it.
yeah, yeah. Well, so
Yeah.
so quantum physics and metaphysics, it really just informs my philosophical theories more than anything, and just like that relation of just being aware when I'm in my process.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
you know this more than anyone else, coming from like a very traditional musical background, that a lot of
Hmm.
your great tabla maestros and legends, like they
Hmm.
usually had something of like they had something to dig from. For most of
Sure.
them it was Sufism, spirituality, love, what have you, right? So I
Hmm.
think
Hmm.
as artists it's really important that you need some kind of well from where you could
Hmm.
extract.
Of
So
course.
for me, quantum and metaphysics is just like it's just like a subject that really interests me, and something
Hmm.
that I bring into my awareness when I work is just simply that.
Fantastic, fantastic. And it's very inspiring because this is hardly something I've ever heard an electronic music artist ever say. We have, again, incredible people joining us. Pratik Srivastav is a Sarod maestro. He's a young sensation here in Kolkata.
Oh
Thank you,
wow.
Pratik, for joining us. And we have some
Yeah,
really,
shout
really
out to
good people.
Pratik.
Shout out to Pratik. And you've talked about well, we are actually running out of time. So I'm going to get into one of the things that I do at the end of these sessions. And if we have time, we'll talk a little more. This is kind of like a rapid fire or batter box kind of thing where I throw
Let's
a
do
question
it.
at you. Yeah? You ready? I'll throw
Yeah.
you something and you have to make a choice. And you can't say both
Oh.
because that's like, yeah.
Oh, oh, this is gonna be
um,
fun.
this
Okay.
is going to be fun. All right, you ready? Here we go.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, Saudi or India?
Both. You can't make me
What did I
choose.
just?
Well,
That's the whole
that is
point.
a
You just,
horrible question. That is the
of course,
most
it's a horrible
horrible
question. That's
question
the
you could
whole
ask
point.
someone. There's no
Come
comparison.
on.
Absolutely no comparison.
I know, I know. That's the
Let's
exact
go
answer
for
I
it.
would give if they said, New York or India. It's like, well, New York and India.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, producing music or playing live?
Oh my God. Be doing this. You cannot do this.
Yes, actually, I
It's so
can.
hard.
Watch me. Watch me
Okay,
do
I
it.
can, I can, okay, I would say this. Um, I can totally like be a cave person. I would then say
Hmm.
producing music.
Mm. But there is a performer spirit in you. There's a performer avatar in you, which needs to go out and play this stuff also. Like, and
Yeah,
you don't have that
yeah.
whole experience of affecting people by it. I'm just making your life as
Yes.
difficult as I can right now. That's kind of the fun
I
of what
can
I
see
do
that.
on
You're
this show.
doing a damn job of
Thank you, thank you.
Oh
Um,
dear.
okay, what is your go-to plugin for drums, processing drums?
Um, Processing. Oh, this is really, really difficult.
It
Um,
could be EQ, it could be compression, it could be anything, filter, gates, whatever.
I would I would s- Okay, I have to say this. I use a lot of like stock plugins from Logic itself. So I
Okay.
would simply say like the stock plugin, stock EQ plugin from Logic.
Okay. The what is it called? The stock EQ that they have,
Or
the
hey,
basic one.
or oh wait a minute, Cable Guys. Oh my God, how can I
Cable
Cable
guys.
Guys have
Yeah.
amazing. It's called Shaper Box. It's
Yeah.
just crazy fantastic.
Oh,
So if
Shaperbox
any
is
of you
amazing. I love it. Yeah.
yeah, so if any of you producer people out here on the chat, like you should read into Shaperbox, like download the demo
Yeah.
or something. Like it's life changing. Like I love Shaper.
Yeah. Check out Shaperbox for sure.
I
I
love
mean,
the
change your
cable.
life. It'll change your life. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Um. Okay. What are your go-to headphones for
right.
production and for live DJing?
Oh my God, without a doubt, Bear Dynamic 770. It's like
770 Pro. Yep.
feathers like
Yep.
on your ears. It's like
Yep.
and shout out to Dean Coleman, who
Mm,
actually recommended this like very early on in my journey. He said
mm.
without a doubt, like just go for Bear Dynamic.
Yeah, I have the same one, 770 AC Pro, right?
Right.
I have the exact same one. Hey, listen, Afra, we're out of
It's like
time,
butter on your ears. You
unfortunately.
don't feel anything.
Yeah, and even the way it feels on your ears. Okay, I mean,
Yeah,
out of that. Um, so
absolutely.
I had a lot of other questions, but unfortunately, this live is going to end in like 2 minutes, and I'm going to keep going until it tells me to get lost. Um, three favorite producers.
Oh, okay. So the Chemical Brothers, um,
Ah,
James Zabila, and Gesaffelstein.
okay. I haven't heard of the last one, but wonderful.
Oh, he produced Kanye's the album, not the last
Oh,
album, the album before that. Yeah.
okay. All right. We have to end this video. Just one word of advice for young artists who are looking forward. And there are so many questions. Please leave us the questions in the comments when I upload this on the IGTV in my Instagram. So then, she'll be able to answer your questions. We literally have 90 seconds left. Your advice to young women and artists and DJs and producers out there.
Yeah, well, I would just tell all like the humans out there, just like live your life mission, you know? And if you're
Right.
doing that, then that'll just show up in even in your music journey. So I would just say just follow that mission, whatever it is, and it'll all turn out okay, I think. Hopefully.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, Afra, thank you so much for joining me on this
Thank you,
session.
Mayookh.
This was incredible, very
Yeah.
insightful, very in depth, and a really, really deep sense of thought in production of music. Um, Ladies and gentlemen, this is ANAKHEMIA. Follow her immediately and go and subscribe on her
Thank
channel
you.
and all that. Amazing artist. My next guest is going to be saxophone maestro George Brooks on Sunday, and we're going to talk about a lot of music then. I will announce the time and everything tomorrow. Thank you for joining us, and once again, thank you, Afra, for being here on
Thanks,
this show. It was
everyone.
so amazing. Okay,
Thank
take care,
you. It's
stay
my
safe, and
pleasure.
we have to play together
Too.
very soon. Okay,
Thankfully. Yeah, hopefully. Thank you so much. Bye.
absolutely. Bye bye.